Welcome to Phobia Files. The word phobia comes from the Greek word phobos, which is related to having a fear of something, or often what we might call an irrational fear. We are sure you've all heard of arachnophobia, which means a fear of spiders, or hydrophobia, which means a fear of water. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, 19.2 million US adults suffer from phobias, with some of the most common being a fear of spiders, snakes, heights, and flying. But today, we're diving into something much stranger, focusing on some of the freakiest fears out there, right here on Phobia Files episode. The weirdest phobias people suffer from. Let's kick things off with number 10, Turophobia, an entirely irrational fear of cheese. Yes, you heard that right, cheese. For those with this phobia, the sight or even thought of cheese might send them running for the hills. The Greek word turi means cheese, and that's where the condition gets its name. In 2016, an English university student described her experience with turophobia as traumatic, though she did admit to being slightly more tolerant of mozzarella over other cheeses. Imagine navigating a world full of pizza, cheeseburgers, and charcuterie boards when even the smallest hint of parmesan can trigger unease. Number 9 on our list is Omphalophobia, the fear of navels, or more colloquially, belly buttons. For individuals with Omphalophobia, the belly button becomes an object of intense discomfort or anxiety, whether it's their own or someone else's. In 2018, a UK newspaper shared the story of a 25-year-old student doctor who described how looking at someone's navel triggered panic attacks and nausea. She confessed that if someone touched her belly button, it felt like an internal invasion, which understandably presents challenges to her budding medical career. The belly button is, after all, a deeply personal and symbolic part of the human body, connecting us to our mothers before birth. Next up is number 8, Papaphobia, the fear of the Pope. Yes, some people experience genuine anxiety at just the thought of the man in white robes and a mitre. This phobia is often linked to a larger fear of religious icons or symbols. Those who suffer from papaphobia report symptoms like a racing heartbeat, excessive sweating, and feelings of nausea when faced with the presence of the Pope. Imagine trying to visit Vatican City under such circumstances. For some, coping mechanisms might involve anti-anxiety medications to mitigate their visceral reactions during such encounters. Finally, let's delve into number 7, Nomophobia. While it may sound unusual, this is becoming one of the most prevalent fears in today's tech-driven age. Nomophobia is the fear of being without your cell phone, whether that entails not having a charge, losing connectivity, or misplacing the device altogether. According to Psychology Today, some sufferers won't part with their phones under any circumstances, even taking them into the shower or bed. A UK study of over 2,100 participants revealed that 58% of men and 47% of women reported experiencing symptoms of nomophobia. In the US, however, it appeared even more widespread, with 66% of phone users admitting to this fear. The Guardian reported in 2017 that detachment from a smartphone can trigger spikes in heart rate and blood pressure, reflecting withdrawal-like symptoms similar to those experienced by drug addicts. Such is the profound grip our tiny screens hold on our daily lives. With these peculiar phobias in mind, it's clear that fears come in all forms, some of which are so deeply tied to modern living that they mirror society's priorities and anxieties. And we're just scratching the surface of these fascinating emotional phenomena. Welcome to the world of digital heroin. That brings us to number 6 on our list, Ephebiphobia, the irrational fear of teenagers or young people. Imagine being so uneasy around adolescents that even the thought of encountering them gives you anxiety. While some might chalk this up to a common annoyance with younger generations, Ephebiphobia stretches far beyond that. In fact, this fear has been growing in recent years. The Guardian once interviewed a 16-year-old who noted that some adults would cross the street to avoid him, a clear manifestation of this phobia. Such reactions often stem from societal concerns about youth behaviour. For centuries, every generation has criticised the youth of their time for being too brash, lazy, or disrespectful. A study from the 1980s even discussed how older generations perpetuate moral panic about young people, branding them as out of control. Comedian Doug Stanhope, however, humorously claims his dislike of youth comes from their lack of recklessness, an entirely different critique. Now on to number 5. Phagophobia. This is as troublesome as it sounds, an intense fear of swallowing. Unlike fear related to eating disorders or weight concerns, this phobia stems from a fear of choking. People who experience phagophobia might find their throat muscles spasming involuntarily during moments of panic, making it difficult or even impossible for them to swallow food, water, or medicine. The psychological toll of this condition can be severe since it directly impacts such a basic and essential life function. Therapy is often the recommended treatment route for individuals seeking relief from this debilitating fear. Let's move on to number 4, Triskaidekaphobia, or the fear of the number 13. It's a bit more familiar and, compared to the rest of our list, might seem more superstition-based than rooted in psychological distress. Many people associate the number 13 with bad luck, which is often tied to myths, religion, and cultural traditions. Some folks avoid it so fanatically that hotels or businesses will skip the number entirely. No 13th floors, rooms, or aisles in sight. While this phobia might sound mild and quirky, for those who truly fear the number, it can result in significant anxiety when encountering it in daily life. Time magazine has even reported that Triskaidekaphobia is more of a cultural superstition than a clinical diagnosis. Still, it's intriguing how deeply ingrained this fear can be in some societies. Next, we have number 3, Ablutophobia. If you're on the dating scene, this might not be an ideal fear to have, as it refers to the fear of washing or bathing. While this phobia is more common in children, there are some adults who deal with it as well. Historically speaking, this might not have been as problematic hundreds of years ago when hygiene habits were, shall we say, less rigorous. But in the current era, avoiding bathing can present both social and health concerns. Professionals suggest that, like most phobias, therapy is an effective way to reduce the extreme anxiety associated with this fear. From fears of washing and swallowing to the number 13 and teenagers, these phobias highlight the fascinating and sometimes perplexing ways our minds function. As always here on Phobia Files, we strive to demystify these fears, providing both insight and a bit of intrigue along the way. And believe it or not, this is just the tip of the iceberg for today's episode. So stick around as we continue exploring some of the world's weirdest phobias. So, as we wrap up our exploration of some of the world's weirdest phobias, let's take a look at a few more before our final thoughts. Dextrophobia takes the spotlight at number 2 on our list, a fear so specific that it feels almost unimaginable. This is the fear of things being to the right of you. Yes, sufferers of dextrophobia are often highly distressed by objects placed on their right side, whether on a desk, a shelf, or even the right-hand lane of a road. It's often tied to obsessive-compulsive tendencies, as those affected might meticulously arrange items so that everything is only on their left. Interestingly, there's a counterpart called levophobia, which is the fear of things on the left. For individuals who deal with both of these phobias simultaneously, life must indeed feel like an overwhelming balancing act. Finally, we have our number 1 spot, Phobophobia, the fear of developing a phobia itself. It might sound ironic, but this phobia amplifies anxiety to an extreme. For those who experience it, the mere possibility of developing a phobia can induce severe panic attacks, causing symptoms like dizziness, rapid heartbeat, sweating, and intense dread. It's a vicious cycle where the fear feeds the anxiety, creating a constant state of unease. As strange as phobophobia may sound, it serves as a sobering reminder of how self-reinforcing anxiety disorders can be. We'd like to leave you with Franklin D. Roosevelt's famous words that align perfectly here. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. A powerful sentiment indeed. Now, let's turn the conversation over to you. Do you find yourself grappling with any of the fears we discussed today? Whether it's Turophobia's aversion to cheese or the relentless grip of Nomophobia, phobias come in all shapes and sizes, often shaping the way we experience the world around us. Let us know in the comments which of these resonated with you most, or if there's a unique fear you'd like us to explore in a future episode. Here at Phobia Files, we're committed to unveiling the mysteries behind these fascinating psychological phenomena, and we'd love to dive deeper based on your suggestions. Before you go, don't forget to check out another intriguing video on our channel, FBI versus CIA, How Do They Compare? It's a fascinating breakdown of two of the most secretive organizations in the world and their surprising differences. And of course, if you enjoyed today's dive into the world of unusual fears, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Phobia Files. Your support helps us create even more fascinating content for those who, like us, are endlessly curious about the human mind. Until next time, take care of yourselves and remember, it's okay to face your fears one step at a time. Don't forget to like and subscribe.